This is my latest map of the Indiana Railroads. I named it Butch's 2020 Indiana Railroad Map. And my goal when designing this map was to map all the railroads of Indiana, the past and present. And for the active railroads, and that's those paths not in red that I'll demonstrate later, it shows the miles of track for each segment in Indiana, historical information for each segment, radio frequencies, detailed maps for each segment, and picture and satellite views of the major connections, siding, bridges, overpasses, and easy access points for all the lines. And when I say easy access points, I'm talking about where I could find Google Street View, so I figure it's probably safe to go everywhere that Google went to make their Street View pictures. On the abandoned lines, and that's all the paths in red in this map, it shows the miles of track in Indiana, historical information for each segment, and detailed maps for each segment, providing picture satellite views for remnants I found along the abandoned lines. I borrowed Google Earth Big Black Helicopter to simulate flying over most of the longer segments at speeds up to 325 miles an hour. The flight movies were recorded in 720p due to the limitations of my old homemade computer. The altitude and flight speeds are demonstrated by the length of each segment. I attempted to fly as low and slowly over the tracks as possible without getting kicked out of Google Earth server, which I am right now. It just occurred when I tried to make my last flight over the long and nasty CSXLCL subdivision at too slow a speed. I hope they let me back on because this has happened 4 or 5 times and they view me as a hacker. I don't think I am, but that's how they view me right now. Now this is how I use the 2020 Railroad Map. So this is how it appears whenever you open a map. And I'll flip this screen, and here is the map. This is what it looks like. We have a map legend over to the left here where my mouse is, and we have the map over here to the right where my mouse is right there, the hand. Now let's assume you found some remnants of railroad on your property, but you don't have a clue what it was or where it went or anything about it. So this is how you access it. You simply just type in your address using a location search right there. See that magnifying glass? It's called the location search. So I'm going to use the example. I'll use my written documentation here. I'm going to Washington, Indiana. So I just type in Washington, Indiana. And notice it pops up right there. It says move map to Washington, Indiana. And here we are. There's the old B&O Railroad that went through Washington, the mighty, mighty B&O. And here's the line I'm looking for because I had a friend that lived on Maxwell Avenue in Washington, Indiana. And we used to watch the trains bounce up this line. I wonder what it was. So I just click on that line right there on the map, and look what appears here to the left on the map legend. If it's in Milwaukee, and I can't remember what all that means. And the length of this particular segment is 2.83 miles. So if I want to get any history about this particular line, I just click on this right here, and there the history appears for this particular line. Now all these open on a new window, so you just close the window out and you want to see a length of the detailed map. And here's the length of detail map. And we'll zoom in here. And there's where I used to hunt rabbits back in the late 60s and early 70s along this old line, and the track was still there at the time. Now, if you see a set of binoculars like this, you click on that, and it'll give you the latitude and longitude directions and even a picture link. There it is right there. And it comes up here, and then you can move the map anywhere you want. And the screen capture on it is moving kind of slow, but that's how it works. So the old line used to come there, and it wound, you can see we're wound this way toward Washington. There's Washington right there, and that's sort of intersected with the current Indiana Southern Railroad, the old New York Central, that goes from Evansville to Indianapolis. There's one more feature I'd like to demonstrate on this map. You notice over here at the map legend we have Google Earth Flight Simulations YouTube movie, and I'll show you how that works. You just click on that link right here, and it takes you to my YouTube flight video. And what we're going to do now is fly over this route. And on the abandoned lines, you notice right here I have it in a light red, so you see how I plotted it out. And here we are flying over the Milwaukee Road about, let's see if we can come down here, 60 miles an hour, or 400 feet above where the tracks used to be. And notice I have the place markers here where I think I found some remnants where you can see where the line used to go. And since it's a YouTube video, we have no links on these icons. It's just a video. And here we are flying along Washington, Indiana. And there's Ogden Street, where I used to walk home from school part of the time. And this, I use this quite often to double check myself to make sure the plots I made of the abandoned lines are somewhat accurate anyway. And the downside of this, the long segments, I have to fly faster and higher over the tracks than I really like. But if I don't, I get kicked off YouTube because they call me a hacker. So I made them as slow and as slow as possible, the flights, and this is how they work. Close that out, and close that out, and we're back to the Indiana Railroads here. So we showed you how to gather information for an abandoned railroad, and again, all the abandoned railroads are marked in red. Now, what if we want to get information for a railroad that is active? And you can do it exactly the same way as I did the last one if you wish, but I'm just going to change things up a little bit here and select a railroad that I know something about, the Indiana CSX Indiana subdivision line. So I'll show you how we do that. So you notice here in Google My Maps, it defaults to only 4 lines under each category. And you see here for abandoned lines, I have 176 more. So all you have to do is click on that to expand it out, or you can click on this icon right here and toggle it to expand it out if you wish. But right now we just want to see the old, we want to see the CSX Indiana subdivision. So we just expand that out like this, come down to the Indiana subdivision, select that, and notice how the line highlights. And in Indiana, there's 145 miles of track. And if you want historical information about, and I would have picked the wrong one, I get a redirect here. But if you do get that, all you have to do is just say, take me there, like I just did. And this is what that looks like. It says subdivision. And it gives you a brief overview. And I got this information from ChicagoRailFan.com. And the radio frequencies are in this right here. And you want to see the detail map, you can get it right here if you wish. And look at all the place markers I have on this, because this is my favorite road of all time. So if you want to see the little tunnel, and if you expand this out, you can see how it does display. And we go to the picture link. And here are pictures I've taken of the little tunnel. And it's the old, what they call the Safety Express train back in the early 80s, I think it was. And you expand those pictures out if you want to, like that. And there's the old warning horn that used to be in the tunnel. And I am a retired software developer for Eli Lilly. And I wrote an awful lot of code at this location. I would sit there with my laptop and wait for trains to come by, drink some beer, and write some code. And boy, the trains used to blow through there about 45, 50 miles an hour. And it was a great line at one time. And I think that's just about all there is to using this map. So I hope you enjoy it.